Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Tuesday, the 11th day of June, 2024. And we've got some really good news with what's going on right now in Israel with respect to the hostage proposal, the proposal that Biden put forward that he claimed was Israel's proposal. And it looks like we're going to have some type of answer today as we go to our headlines. That'll be headline number 4. The first three headlines are really interesting because what we find is the Biden administration is going out of its way to try to get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. They want Benny Gantz, maybe Yair Lapid to be the prime minister. And the stories we have here today that were put in the news are really amazing. Here's the first one. Listen to this. U.S. officials, Netanyahu to favor political survival over hostage deal. Whoa. The Biden administration is worried that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will attempt to foil chances for a hostage exchange deal and believe that although his government is committed to the release of hostages, it is not committed to ending the war. American officials said on Tuesday, adding that this is why U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said publicly that Netanyahu stood by his own proposed deal. Blinken spoke after meeting with Israeli officials and with the families of hostages who were demonstrating outside his hotel in Tel Aviv, demanding their loved ones be released from Hamas captivity after being abducted some 8 months ago. The American official said they believe that Netanyahu would ultimately choose to do what was in his own political interest. Can you believe that? They had no harsh words for outgoing War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz, though, who announced his resignation on Sunday, although they did attempt to convince him to stay. The officials said that they understood Gantz no longer had any effect over decisions made under Netanyahu. One official said it may even be better for Gantz to leave the War Cabinet, no longer provide the Prime Minister with some type of cover. The secretary said conversations on plans for the day after the war in Gaza would continue on Tuesday afternoon, and in the next couple of days, it's imperative that we have these plans. Now, remember, this is when the proposal had been submitted to Hamas. They had a favorable reaction to it, and they're waiting for a final response. This is when this story came out. So basically, it's saying Hamas is going to go for it, and yet Netanyahu is going to turn thumbs down because he's more concerned with his own political future than with the hostages. And that is beyond ridiculous because he is doing what the majority of the Israelis want, and that is fighting against Hamas to get rid of them once and for all. So there will not be a military. They won't be able to govern Gaza. And then they want to have Gaza in such a way where the next group that comes in won't have the same thing that Hamas did and fight against Israel. And so those three things are the goals of the war. And that's the goal of most Israelis. Not a Palestinian state as Benny Gantz wants and the people on the left want. All right, so that was the first story. Then we have this story. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken meets with MK Benny Gantz, Yesh Atid Chair Yair Lapid in Israel. All right, so the State Department announced in separate statements that U.S. Secretary of State met with Gantz and Lapid. They discussed their proposal to achieve a hostage deal as part of a ceasefire in Gaza that would secure the release of all hostages and increase humanitarian aid throughout the territory. Blinken commended Israel for the proposal and emphasized Hamas should take the deal without delay. He reiterated that in addition to reuniting hostages with their loved ones, the proposal would advance Israel's long-term security interests and suggests it would create the possibility of restoring calm along Israel's border with Lebanon to allow Israelis to return to their homes. And so he's meeting with the opposition. And so they're positioning themselves to get rid of Netanyahu. I mean, this is so obvious. Number 3, now we have another story. U.S. envoy to the UN says this. Netanyahu has been clear in backing the hostage ceasefire offer. U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield acknowledges that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not publicly and clearly come out in support of the hostage deal proposed that he authored late last month. He hasn't said it for reasons that, she said, I can't get into here. But in the conversations between the president and Netanyahu and Secretary Blinken and Netanyahu, the prime minister has been clear that they accept this resolution, Thomas Greenfield said in an interview with the liberal NPR, National Public Radio. They're ready to move forward. They want to see the hostages released, and they want to see peace occur along the borders. And they are working with us on this, she adds. Netanyahu has issued vague statements asserting that the offer allows Israel to continue the war until Hamas's military and governing capabilities, even though the deal envisions initial ceasefire with Hamas still in power, that is later turned into a permanent through another round of talks permanent peace through another round of talks after the first 6-week truce. And so he's issued vague statements on this. Now, here is probably the reason why. Here's headline number 4. And we think because of this, if I take back and I'm going to guess, these other people are playing checkers and Benjamin Netanyahu is playing chess. Hamas submits its response. Israeli official, they rejected the Biden proposal. Oh, wow. Senior Hamas official says the group is committed to demand for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. Israeli official, Hamas rejected the outline proposed by Biden. Senior Hamas official Osama Hamdan later told El Mayadeen that Hamas's response included several comments on the proposal, which was recently outlined by U.S. President Joe Biden. Now, this is not something to comment on. You either give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but no. What did we say? We said Hamas will not just say yes or no. They will try and change it. They will try and work it even more to their betterment. But the problem is the Security Council already voted on one proposal, not a proposal with all these changes that Hamas would want. All right. So anyway, he said Hamas is committed to what it said before, which is a demand for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. Hamas and Islamic Jihad said in a joint statement, a joint delegation of Hamas and Islamic Jihad delivered tonight the answer of the resistance factions to the Qataris during a meeting with the Prime Minister of Qatar. The answer was also delivered to Egypt. Now, the response we find prioritizes the interest of the Palestinian, this is what they're saying. The response prioritizes the interests of the Palestinian people and the need to completely stop the ongoing aggression in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian delegation expressed its willingness to act positively to reach an agreement. Listen, to reach an agreement? Well, this was the agreement. Are you for it or are you against it? To reach an agreement that will end the war against our people based on a sense of national responsibility, said the statement quoted by Channel 12 News. Reuters quoted an official briefed on the talks as saying Hamas' response includes a new timeline for a permanent ceasefire and withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. The two countries said they confirmed that their joint mediation efforts with the United States of America will continue until an agreement is reached and that the mediators will examine the response and coordinate with the parties concerned regarding the next steps. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby confirmed that the U.S. received and is reviewing Hamas' response to the Gaza ceasefire proposal. We've only just gotten it. Our team is going through it. But later on Tuesday night, a senior Israeli official said Israel had received Hamas's response and added that the terrorist organization rejected Biden's proposal. And I think that's what Benjamin Netanyahu was counting on, rejecting the proposal. In other words, he knew they wouldn't accept it. That's why he let it play out. That's why he didn't say anything negative about it, because he knew they would never accept it in a million years. So that's where we stand tonight. They are rejecting the proposal. What they're going to do, they're going to talk with the mediators and try and add a bunch of things that were not in the original proposal, always to their betterment. And again, Israel will say no. Yeah, nada, whatever it might be, zero. We don't want to do anything more. Well, this is it. This is a take it or leave it. This is as far as we could go. We've gone the extra mile. Look at all that we've given you. And the good news is because of this, Israel will be able to continue going into Gaza, going into Rafah, ridding the world with Hamas, with these terrorists, and onward they go. Now, there may be some pressure on Israel from the U.S. or others to say, well, you got to keep giving up. No, they're not going to do that. They've given up more than enough. And in fact, they said that with this initial proposal. But it looks like what they have done, the reason they did this, not because they think Hamas would accept it, because they knew they would reject it. And they wanted the rejection coming from Hamas rather than the Israelis. That's my take anyway. Well, we'll see what's going to happen tomorrow. But the news is that Hamas got it. They gave all these great comments about, oh, we're studying, we like where it's going. But there's always the but, but we want to see this, and this done. Looks like it ain't going to happen. All right. Anyway, I'm Don Stewart, and it's really interesting what's going on here. We'll keep you posted tomorrow morning when we do another edition of Breaking News. I'm sure we'll have much more on this. Until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless you.